All right, so let's just take a look at this clip here. This is a clip with one of these auditors who these people are essentially just agents of the state, the communitarian state, who are put out and given large platforms on YouTube and promoted because no one who's legitimate or real who exposes police corruption gets heavy viewership. They will ensure that that's minimized. They're not going to allow anyone who's real or grassroots with regards to exposing these things to get any major exposure. They're going to control that narrative the way they control everything else by creating false opposition and using their own state-funded people to go out and film scenarios to make you think that there is some pushback, when in reality you have what is essentially dictatorship going on. Although they're not using physical violence or force at this point, it is essentially a dictatorship, and they use deceit. They use deceit as a means of trying to con people into thinking that we still have democracy, so that they won't be too worried, they won't be too concerned as things get worse and worse. This is what these people do. This is what these people consistently do. They fund these actors to go out and create simulations online because they know that the police corruption is becoming very apparent and it's becoming too obvious to ignore. Specifically with the police and their involvement, irrefutable involvement in criminal stalking and harassment of law-abiding citizens who have been placed on CSIS watch lists for no valid reason. These are people who have not broken any laws. A lot of times it's just being done for literally Orwellian wrongthink, for having opinions that may be deemed unacceptable by the state. In other cases, it's people who have exposed corruption within the police. So people who may be whistleblowers, people who have exposed corruption. But another thing that you need to understand is that a lot of these people who you see on YouTube who they claim are whistleblowers, these are their people too. They're going to control any of these narratives where there are people who may be opposing these things that they're doing, these harmful agendas. And as they slowly and incrementally take away freedoms and democracy in general, which is essentially, it's just an illusion of democracy at this point, as it has been for quite some time in this country, but it's becoming more and more obvious now. So they create online simulations, and of course they control all these platforms, whether it be YouTube, even the ones that claim to be about free speech, BitChute, Odyssey, all these others. But particularly YouTube is the most important one, because they know that's the one that generally people who don't know, who could wake up to these things and don't know that these things are going on, are going to go to. So they have huge segments of the population who are essentially what would be referred to. So they have large segments of the population who have been enlisted to partake in many of these activities. And a lot of these activities literally involve staging scenarios to deceive the public, and a lot of times they're presenting these scenarios to make you think that these people, who are just their people essentially, but they're just playing both sides and showing you a duality, and that duality is very prevalent within the the things within Freemasonry. They promote that a lot, the duality, the two sides, the dark and the light. You got the red and the blue for Freemasonry. Red plus blue equals purple. So, which is the Masonic color. So anyway, all this is here, this is a staged interaction. These auditors, everything they do is pre-planned and staged, but some of it looks very natural. Some of it will look very natural, and a lot of times what their purpose is they say they're told to say that they are doing all of these things to protect people's rights, and they will do what looks to be some legitimate exposures of the police, but then on the flip side, the duality, they'll go out and just film people who are eating at a restaurant outside, and of course this at times leads to some arguments and altercations, which they know people want to see anyway. So it's going to be more clickbait. It's going to be the type of that type of conflict, that type of childish behavior is the type of thing, sadly, that people like to see nowadays because of the brainwashing that they have been subjected to for so long, normalizing such behavior. So anyway, this is this is a clip here where this auditor, who is, again, he's just a state-funded agent, and they have, but there's, when they put these people out, it's important to note that, okay, so he has 37.9K subscribers. People who really expose the police, they're not going to let you get that type of subscribership or viewership. And then they set them up with a lot of people who are also within Masonry. Again, a lot of these auditors are also Masons too. There's also evidence of that out there. There's a video where a police officer openly said that one of these auditors, he had Masonic tattoos on his arm, and numerous interactions with that individual with the police. The police said to him, yeah, you're a Mason, right? You're a Mason. And then pointed out he had a Masonic tattoo. And the guy, you know, tried to deny it or whatever. So we're seeing connections between the Fraternal Order of Police, the Masons, and most police officers in Canada are Masons, the males at least. And these people who supposedly are exposing police corruption, yet they themselves, many of them are Masons as well. So what I want to look at here in this clip, I think this is very telling. If you look at the police officer's wrist here, this is a Durham regional cop, and the auditor has just, you know, he has his car parked on the side of the road, and the auditor goes up to talk to him, and you'll see on his left wrist there is a red bracelet. That red bracelet is representative of the Kabbalah, and again, the Kabbalah is very important within Freemasonry. So there's no denying this. And again, what I said to those officers the other day, it's 100% factual. You have to read the writings of the Kabbalah, understand the teachings of the Kabbalah, and then look at what you're seeing around you with these situations where you have people trying to normalize taking a child and subjecting it to changing the child's gender. It all comes back to the implementation of the teachings of the Kabbalah. And that's where that comes from. These are Kabbalistic ideas. And we see people within the police who are supposed to serve and protect the public as a whole, not only being members of Masonic lodges, which is in and of itself a conflict of interest, because at these Masonic lodges, they take oaths to the lodges, which come before anything else in their lives, and they are supposed to protect their Masonic brothers no matter what. So in other words, that could lead to a cop lying to protect one of his Masonic brothers in any situation. So you can't have people like that who have taken those types of oaths, also take an oath to serve and protect the public, when it's obvious that their oath to Masonry comes before anything else in their life, and that they are told that they will even have to lie to cover up things for their Masonic brothers. It's a conflict of interest. And then on top of it, we see these people openly having these red string bracelets, and a lot of cops too. And you also see your prominent politicians wearing these red string bracelets, and all of these, you know, a lot of important people within the media, pro athletes, etc. These are representative of the Kabbalah. And again, the Kabbalistic ideas, the way they're promulgating these ideas, again, is through deceit and through subtle subconscious programming, so that they are just normalized slowly. They put them in the pop culture, they put them out there, but they don't do it in a way where they're actually telling you the truth about what it really is. And all these people who they send out to do these protests about, you know, protect our kids, etc., what they're conveniently not telling people also is that all of that comes back to the teachings of the Kabbalah. So why are they failing to mention that? Are we to believe that all those people don't know that that's what this is? All these protesters who they send out, many of those protesters, sadly, are simply paid agents of the state. And I know it's very disconcerting to come to the realization that that's the case, but sadly, they're running cover on these things as well. And so let's take a look at this clip here. Anyway, you'll see he has the Kabbalah red string bracelet, and of course, his fellow Mason, the auditor, is not going to question him about that at all.
You're just running plates for no reason on thousands of cars a day. You know what I mean? It's what do you think it's getting?
There, okay.
Everything. It gets your address, it gets you, your name, your address, your travel times, your schedules. Yes, it does. It It gathers
Yep,
information.
you can see it right there, the red string.
What it will do is it will gather the time, the place, everything where you are caught driving, right?
So he's seen that. The auditor saw the red string bracelet that this police officer is wearing, and is he going to question him about that at all? No, of course not. Of course not.
And I don't like them installing these.
And you can say, okay, well, he doesn't know what it is, but we've already made connections between these people who they send out as these auditors and Freemasonry. Okay, we've already made clear connections. Maybe not this guy specifically, but with others we have. And we also see them all adapting the exact same newspeak Orwellian language. Like auditors in all of the Five Eyes countries, these people uploading these videos, will say the same things. They'll say a Karen, a Darren. They'll say, you know, they'll just repeat the same newspeak lingo, and it's obvious that they're told to do that and that these things are pre-scripted. Not all entirely pre-scripted in a way that they want to present it as being natural. So I guess they're given some freedom in the way, it's like improv essentially. But yeah, so they're all using the same language and saying the same things. You know, that just doesn't happen naturally. You're not going to have that naturally happen. They want you to think that this is organic. It's not at all. These are people who are sent out as controlled opposition. And what their purpose is, essentially, I believe, a lot of these people who they send out, these auditors, are intentionally acting really obnoxious, really abrasive. And the way they present the police in the videos is that they're very calm, and they're just going about their jobs. So it's meant to make people who expose the police seem, it's meant to present them in a derogatory light. Now this guy here, he tends to be a little bit more normal. His interactions are a little bit more professional. But having said that, again, if you're really exposing police corruption, they're going to do things to target you and completely isolate you. That you're not going to have this enormous following that these people have. If that was real, if all of these people who support this guy, if that was real and you had that many people who are against this type of corruption, it would not be able to continue on. It simply wouldn't. So we can see right there that there's a lot of deceit and manipulation going on with these people. And of course they get heavily promoted because people who are real, who expose corruption, get shadow banned. And these offer any assistance. They only interact, to people who are real, that is, they only interact within their own specific groups, which are set up. So that again tells you right there, that's a sign of a psychological operation, of an intelligence agency operation. And that's what they do. A lot of these intelligence operations use citizen agents who they're using essentially as actors to deceive the public. It is more complex than people know, and a lot of these things seem much more simplistic on the outside, but you have to look beneath the surface at what they're really trying to do and what the real agenda is here. So let's see more of his...
Static polls too, you know? I don't know if you have those. They're working on it. I follow city council pretty closely. This is Ajax, right? Yes. Yeah, so, well, this 19 division, so Pickering and Ajax. The only information
there it is again. You can see the red string there. Again, that is representative of the Kabbalah. I can show you another video where they go through over and over all these people, these these influential people. Tucker Carlson has it on. Justin Sinclair Trudeau. His real last name is Sinclair. They've changed the name because he's a member of one of these elite families whose family bloodline goes back years of importance within Freemasonry. So that's why Justin Sinclair's family changed their name with Pierre Trudeau. His father before him was Sinclair. Last name was Sinclair. So that is a very important and prominent family in Freemasonry. Why do you think he's in that position that he's been inserted into? Think about it. These people won't give you any real truth about these things. They won't call the police out on their clear involvement in trafficking narcotics. They will never call the police out about the conflict of interest that is very glaring, about the glaring conflict of interest between their vows to serve and protect and their oaths to Masonic lodges, which come into direct conflict. They will never say things about that because these people are essentially just state-funded actors. And I'm going to go into more videos exposing them as well as exactly what I just said they are. And they won't respond to any of that because they know it's truthful. So a lot of what these auditors do, I've already noticed them doing things like mimicking things that I have in my videos, because they know that they don't want real people who are actually exposing these things to have any influence. They only want you, the state wants you to look at these people and think that these are people who are actually exposing these things, when in fact they're not. They work for the system, and they work with the same people who they're claiming to expose. They attend the same lodges as these criminal Freemason cops who they're claiming to expose. The amount of deceit that is going on today, in this day, the amount of deceit that we are seeing in these modern times is unprecedented. And you have to be aware of that, and they're counting on you not having discernment. They're counting on having an audience that is not awake, that does not understand the real things that are going on now, and it's far more complex than a lot of people know.
Priority alerts.
Yeah.
So you get medium priority or high priority.
Yeah.
So I don't really get any information about the person. So if your plate's unattached, or if you're wanted, or if your vehicle's stolen,
Yeah.
are kind of the main things.
Well, that's what you would get. But
Another thing that's important to note is these auditors will never ever say anything about how the police are clearly involved in criminal harassment campaigns at the behest of CSIS. Because the people who they do these things to, they basically attack all of your support sources, and they will spread slander about the person who they're doing these things to. They will create false dossiers, going around lying to everyone who's within the vicinity of that person and attempting to get them on board with at least, if not participating in the harassment and mobbing, at the very least not supporting them when the person comes forward to try to expose these criminal harassment activities. The auditors will not talk about that. They offer no support for people who are really going through these things. Again, that just shows you even more what frauds they are.
the information gets logged.
They're a part of the Canadian communitarian system. They've also been promised a lot of things for participating in this deception. And what they're doing is essentially working alongside the police to stage these interactions. What it's going to lead up to eventually are new laws restricting one's ability to record the police and other public servants and hold them accountable for their criminal actions.
In a database, and that's
Which I might add, you can't really do in general today anyway, because the judicial system is so grossly corrupt in this country, and most prominent judges, lawyers, and other such people are Freemasons themselves. So this is what we have going on. These people don't actually expose corruption. They work for the state. They work for the system that is implementing this tyranny. They're just presenting you with fake actors as fake opposition, as they always do.
that's the part that
And I'm not just going to make this those claims without backing it up with evidence too. So I'll make other videos exposing these people. It's not too hard to do when you look at their material. So I've been looking at some of their material for quite some time, and it's pretty easy to pick up on things which show you that these people are not who they say they are.
have an issue.
So anyway, you saw that there. He's wearing a Kabbalah red string. At no point in this video does the guy ask him about it or anything. Obviously, because he knows what it is.
You know what
I believe he probably knows what it is. Probably, again, very likely a Mason himself, the auditor.
I mean, like, it does become an invasion.
So he's not holding these people accountable at all. If you were really holding them accountable, you'd ask them about the glaring conflict of interest between their vows to serve and protect and the oaths that they've taken to this the most powerful and influential organization on earth, essentially, which an organization which all of the prominent politicians, all of the prominent influencers, all of these people who they present as influencers are involved with. Wouldn't you ask about that if you were legitimately trying to expose corruption? Of course you would. So these people just stage these skits. These people just stage these things where, if you're awake, you're already aware that the police are involved in staging all of these continual deception events. They take part in them, and it's run very intricately. There's connections between the media, the police, and large numbers of people who they control. Essentially, these would be the people who they'd bring out and utilize as quote-unquote crisis actors. I don't like that term. And that's a term they want you to use too, by the way. That's controlled language. But we'll just, for lack of a better term right now, that's the term we'll use. Essentially, those are community-based agents, and they partake in what they know to be criminal mass deception events to deceive the public alongside the police and alongside people like these auditors. And the purpose of these mass deception events is to provide justification for them to enact new tyrannical measures and laws which restrict freedoms. They have to use deceit to create justification to remove more freedoms. And it's always the Hegelian dialectic they're using to do this. These are their own people. Do not trust these people and do not give them your money under any circumstances. They are not who they say they are. These auditors, I mean.
Into privacy at that point. So that's what I don't like about it. I understand you guys doing your job and all that stuff, but
some guys like it, some guys don't. Like, we definitely get different.
Anyway, if you watch this whole video, you'll see he never asks him about the red string, and that's what that is. It's representative of the Kabbalah. So there you go.